Right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I totally apologize to everyone for being 8 minutes late. For those who know me, this is Dr. Thomas Easley. Welcome this morning. It's good to see people already logging on. A lot of people already jumping on. So I want to thank you all. Thank you for your patience. Hopefully you set those clocks back. Even though I do think daylight savings is kind of silly, but whatever. That's something different. Good morning, Lita. Good morning, Talitha. How are you doing? Thank you for being on. Hopefully, a couple of other people will actually join in. I am still. That's great. That's great. I am still in Madison, Wisconsin, and but I'll be heading back to North Carolina today. Looking forward to getting back to my home state and to my people whom I love and that I know love me. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. You know, as I always say, if you want to continue to follow me and support other things that I'm doing, I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/RASHAADI, and I'm fortunate to say there's been a lot of traffic on my channel lately, which is cool. You can follow me at facebook.com/Rashad Easley, or you can find me as Thomas Easley. And then on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, it's all the same, Rashad Ease, RASHADEAS, and I'm really pretty active on all of them. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's get started. If you're new to this, we really call this this is morning time with the doc. This is what we like to call it. Usually I like to just really converse, share some insights, especially with regard to either diversity, health, music, but more importantly, God. And I do identify as a follower of Jesus, so that's what we talk about here. I ask people, if you have questions or even have comments, email me, thomasreasley@easleybranch.com. It's kind of hard to always answer questions and do various things on Periscope. Sometimes I try, but it's not always successful. And people sometimes get on, get off. You know, the phone sometimes can make it and not stay on. Good Sunday morning to you. Hello as well. Hey, what's going on, Miss Sanders? One of our normal people. Hello to a new person. I see Pasha. Glad that you all are on. Okay, so it's 7:40 Eastern time, I believe, and so I'm actually going to honor being off by 8 a.m. this time, because I know that maybe for some people that hour going back, maybe you all want some extra rest, and I totally understand if you do. So we've been having ourselves a good time lately. We got a different speaker coming to Peace Church today, so I'm fortunate that I don't have to be there to deliver that. But I want to really kind of talk to you all about what it is that I've been doing for the last couple of days. So for those people who don't know me, my first discipline that I really am well versed in, really more so than diversity, is forestry. That's my first 2 degrees. That's what I studied. I went to Alabama A&M University, historically black university. I also went to University of Georgia in Athens, which is a historically white university. I got a very beautiful, wonderful education. And forestry has been wonderful, like to me in a way. And part of the reason it's been wonderful is because I'm in an industry where you don't see a lot of people that look like me, i.e. black people, brown people, women, American Indians, Latino, some, Asian, Pacific Islander. And so there's still been this push. It's real funny. I was at a session Friday where they kind of went over a conference that they had in 1985 that dealt with this issue that we're talking about in 2016. So 31 years ago, and we still haven't gotten it right. And lately, it seems like my platform is starting to grow. As we say, our territory is starting to spread, and we talk about diversity. And I think it is definitely something when you have a person speak about diversity, but do it in a way that's not like with a chip on your shoulder, which I know is really kind of hard to do, especially if you're a person who has an identity that has been marginalized or that is a person of color. So anyway, yesterday I did this talk yesterday morning. I didn't think anyone was going to be there, and so when I talked about diversity, I said I think that for a lot of people, I think that for a lot of people, diversity is a problem facing thing. Or for some people, diversity is a problem causing thing. And that's why it's challenging for certain people to talk about diversity. Problem facing. In my opinion, in order for us to talk about justice, or let's say, I'll take my cue from Van Jones. In order for you to talk about justice, you can't talk about justice without talking about liberty. And so my thing is that you can't talk about diversity without talking about institutional or structural racism. Which in my opinion really is the center of all the issues that we have. Some people, when they look through history, they actually think that racism really stems from certain groups that are really trying to, in some ways, almost like protect their women. So it's like to make sure that you don't look attractive to my woman or to our women. We're basically going to make these rules that make it so that you can't interact with our women. And for some people, they think that that was really the start of racism, because in order for racism to work, which is not really a real thing, it had to be constructed, and the construction was built on inequality, and it was also built on lies. It was built on making another group of people look less than, stupid, dangerous, instead of seeing them as equals and seeing them as partners, so on and so forth. And then from that, as we continue this system of building this system, it becomes racism, because what you start to do is to turn against another race. And another thing that also happened when you look in our country with regard to racism is that every race of people, for the most part, were all treated as less than when they entered into the country. And the people who were empowered, one of the things that they did was for them to grow in power and remain in power is to basically make everybody else feel like you are better than this other group. And in the country at that time, that other group was primarily black people. So it was like they would make even poor white people despise black people. It's like, even though y'all not as good as us with the money, as long as you are better than them, you are okay. And so, all right, welcome, Anastasia. And so, and so yesterday when I was doing my talk, that's what I told him. I was like, diversity to me is not a problem facing tool, is not a problem causing tool. The people who consider diversity to be a problem causing tool are people with the small minds and who operate in fear, because diversity is not the problem. It's the people who can't handle the diversity that make it a problem. It's the people who are unaware of how to deal with difference and bringing and coming together with different people that make it a problem. So diversity itself is not a problem. Now, I know you're like, okay, so you're saying all of this, Thomas, what does this have to do with what you're doing on Periscope this morning? And yet again, anybody who knows me, I always tell you what is central to what I do. My faith is central to all of the things that I do. I make music because of my faith in Jesus. I teach classes and do diversity work because of my faith in Jesus. And more importantly, the stuff that I do in church or the things that I do in the community is because of my faith in Jesus. Because to me, Jesus is, and for me, is the ultimate guide or the ultimate example on how we're to engage with each other. Now, what's interesting is that if you look in the Bible, anywhere from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will always find Jesus either A, with poor people, the people who are considered to be the lowest in society. You will see him with his disciples. You will see him addressing Pharisees. You didn't really see Jesus hanging with Pharisees, even though when Jesus would go to the temple when he was young, he had to be around them because he had to also learn himself. But you always found Jesus being around people who actually were not like him. And what do I mean, not like him? Yeah, he was around Jews, people who were Israelites like him, but he wasn't around people who had the same relationship with God like him. So right there was a big difference. Jesus was always around people who didn't look like him, and he was definitely always around people who didn't think like him. But how is it Jesus was able to do what he did and be so effective at what he did? And in 2016 now, people still have a challenge with how to do what it is that we talk about, which is being a culturally aware, or some like say competent or conscious person. I'm not going to really put competence in there. I think competence is subjective. But I do think people need to be aware and be awake. Aware and awake. And I believe that Jesus was socially, culturally, politically, gender-wise, orientation, sexuality, religion. I believe Jesus was completely awake. Like, he was basically driving the car and he was fully awake of the car that he was driving. And I think a lot of us are either awake in one area, but probably asleep in another area. Like, I give you an example. One of the things that I said in my talk yesterday that I often say all the time, and when I said it, certain people kind of looked at each other. I said, if you are African American, as an African American, I'm going to say this to you. As a black person, I'm going to say it to you. We do not have a monopoly on inequality. Like, we don't. Now, we are in the United States of America. Racism has definitely impacted our existence since we touched the shores over 450 years ago. And depending on who you talk to and study, we actually came here over 2,000 years ago. Everything starts with black. Everything starts with Africa. But to say that, and the reason that I said that to them is because while we get stuck, a lot of us get stuck on race and get caught up in race. I went to a historically black university. I was like, but how do we treat our brothers and sisters who identify as gay or lesbian or bisexual or queer or transgender? How do we treat them on our campus? So even though we walk around recognizing that race is a problem, if you identify as heterosexual or you're hiding your sexuality, you have a privilege to do that. You can also mistreat other people based on that, all because you were totally unaware, right? And we use the Bible to justify it too. That's the part that's actually scary. We use the Bible to justify that. Here again, going back to Jesus. Jesus didn't agree with putting anybody down and treating anybody different. But when people read the Bible, they often still focus on the law of Moses and they focus on the law of Paul instead of focusing on the acts of Jesus. So in this last 10 minutes, what I'm really going to do is, and if you notice, I haven't really given any scriptural references. I'm more so talking to people. I don't really think I have to today. I'm more going to talk about topics than I am scripture. You can look this up on your own. So one of the best stories that I think can explain this, especially when we talk about friendship first, I would say it would probably be between David and Jonathan. David and Jonathan. Jonathan is the son of King Saul. David is the second king of the tribe of Israel. He came in after Saul. And David was the one who's described as being after God's heart. If you read the relationship between Jonathan and David, and if you have a closed mind and you read that, you will almost think that those two might have actually been lovers if you read the way that they felt about each other. Two men. And hey, depending on who we're talking to, it's possible, right? But Jonathan saw David as his friend so much that he protected him from his own father. You know, like in the Bible, it does say that there will be friends who will be closer to you than brothers. Basically, there will be people in your life who will be closer than your family. And I'll admit, I'm very close to my mother, my father, and my sister. I'm very close to them. You do something to them, I'm going to jail. I'm going to tell you, like, there's nothing you can do to calm me down because those three is over for you, right? But I'll admit, I do have people in my life that I talk to basically every day or text with every day that I'm really close with. You know, my primary example that I like to give publicly is my main man B, King Roz, Brian Jackson, the other Rashad. He knows me better, really, I probably say better than anybody in the world. And I actually do mean that. You know, I'm not even saying that shucking and jiving and dropping innuendo. It's really true. I mean, B has seen me at my worst. I've seen him at his worst. He's helped get me out of a jam. I definitely helped him get out of jams. If you follow my music, go look up my song Friends, and it talks all about that. And I would probably say that for B, I'm closer to him than his family, basically. Well, he said that, we said it to each other, and vice versa, him to me, because we're just tight like that. And our friendship, we're both men, we're both heterosexual males, we're both African American, we're both Christian, we're both from the dirty South, as we like to say. He's South Carolina, I'm Alabama. And we got love for each other, and we're not afraid to say we love each other, right? And so I do believe that he and I have a friendship similar to Jonathan and David in the Bible, where we would sacrifice for our friend, sacrifice for our brother. And so when we talk about friendship and being a Christ follower, if you were somebody's friend, that's what you have to be willing to be and do for them. And here again, even people who are parents who love their children, which they should, because you brought your children into this world, even that is only a piece of what the love of Christ is actually about. Because we have an affinity towards those people that we feel responsible for, as we should. But the love of Christ, agape love, surpasses that too. It's like basically what you'll do for your child, would you do that for somebody else's child? What you do for your family, would you actually do that for a friend? What you do for someone that you know, would you do that for someone that you don't know? Right? So that's why even if you show love to the people that you identify with and love a lot, you still have more to do. You still have not reached what that love really looks like, because giving agape love doesn't require identity or identification, period, except for the fact that they're a human being, going back to being like Jesus. And so I want to close with this, talking about a subject that a lot of us know about, and it's Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel, who were the children of Adam and Eve. Whether you believe in Christianity or not, whether you believe in a religion or not, I do believe that this story and God's response in this story is really, really, really telling of how it is that we're supposed to treat each other. So the story can be found in Genesis. I can't give you the exact verse, but if you know anything about this story, like I'll just kind of give it to you. I'll just, peace, who this is, salam, peace. Cain and Abel both will bring offerings to God, and you would get blessed based on the offering that you brought to God. And Abel brought an offering to God that was pure. Okay, it was pure. It was all love. He just wanted to please God. It was brought from a humble spirit, and Abel made his offering. God blessed him. Cain's offering was more about ego and more about himself. It wasn't about really God first. And so Cain didn't get the same blessing that Abel got. And so out of jealousy, Cain killed his brother. Okay, out of jealousy, Cain killed his brother. And God said, it's beautiful, the language that is in the Bible. Ask Cain, what have you done? I can hear your brother's blood screaming to me. Like basically screaming from the earth. Your brother's blood is screaming because you have shed his blood and his blood is going into the earth. What have you done? And Cain asked this question that all of us know, and it is, am I my brother's keeper? When I grew up, a movie that I used to love was New Jack City. I still believe that was Wesley Snipes' best role as Nino Brown. I still do. And they would say that to each other, the Cash Money Brothers, and they'd be like, am I my brother's keeper? And they go, yes, I am, And even today, I believe that President Obama has done an initiative called the Brother's Keeper Initiative. And if we're going to say my brother's keeper, then let's say my sister's keeper too. Like let's be open here. Let's be open. Let's make this unisex. Am I my brother or am I my sister's keeper? But here's the thing that people a lot of time miss. If you read that passage in Genesis, when Cain asked the question, God didn't answer him. Let that sink in for about 7 to 10 seconds. God did not answer Cain when he said, am I my brother's keeper? Yet, 2,000 plus years later, we still say, I am to be my brother's keeper. I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree with that, just like I disagree with the business justification for diversity, which says that by 2050, because our population is going to look like this is why we should start addressing diversity. That's a justification based in fear, not a justification about being proactive. We want to react and ensure that we can make money. So let's do what we can to diversify our field so we can still stay on top. Not let's diversify our field so we can make working experience for people coming into this company better. Not diversify our field so that we can problem solve and have more solutions better. But let's diversify our field so we can make money. That's really what the industries are saying, which is totally wrong. I go back and I say, no, if you ask me, am I my brother's keeper? I would tell you I am not my brother's keeper, because that job is God's job. That is not my job. Okay. I am my brother's brother. And I think that's why God didn't answer. Because no, you're not to be your brother's keeper. You were supposed to be your brother's brother. Your brother's keeper is the person who is responsible for your brother. Your brother's brother is the person that's responsible to your brother. Okay. And so in the last 2 minutes, I want to explain what does that mean. The only people in this world that I am responsible for are people that I bring into this world. So if I bring a child into this world, if you have children, and some of us maybe also take on a responsibility for our nieces and our nephews, but if you bring someone into this world, you are definitely responsible for them, because if it were not for you, and of course somebody else, they would not be here. And if they are children, that means that they cannot take care of themselves. That's why you are to be responsible for somebody. However, being responsible to is something completely different. And if every human being would get this understanding and get this on lockdown, all of the stuff that I talk about diversity would be so elementary to people, because you would get it and you would do it. If I'm responsible to you, what I'm really saying is that my actions impact you and your actions impact me. Therefore, every time I move, I have to move with you in mind. Every time I think and do, I have to think and do with you in mind. So I'm responsible to you, which means that if I spend my money in a way that benefits me, but I do it in a way that hurts you, then I'm not being my brother or my sister's sister or my brother's brother. I'm being selfish. I'm being willingly ignorant because I haven't thought about how it's going to impact you. And this is why diversity for some people I think is challenging for a lot of people to get, because it's hard for them to think about actually being responsible to somebody else. We're too busy trying to be about diversity without putting our own privilege on the line and without changing what's going on with our situation. And you can't do diversity well if you're not willing to inconvenience yourself and make yourself feel uncomfortable, which a lot of people don't know what that's like. They don't know what that's about. And in my opinion, the ultimate example is Jesus. Jesus, who did no sin. I didn't say Jesus didn't do anything wrong, but according to the Bible, he committed no sin. Didn't hurt anybody. Didn't make fun of anybody. Didn't mistreat anybody. And had to be the one to pay the price with his life for everybody. For everybody. And so, do me a favor. Don't tell me what to do on my feed. Get off. Anyway, so as I'm saying, the fact that he did that, oh my goodness, is to show you what we're to do with people. Basically, that's how we're to treat people. We're to put ourselves out there. We're to care for other people. And the crazy part is, the more we do it, the more we will start to change ourselves. And the more we do it, the more we'll start to see how we impact other people and can make their life better. And here's the truth. Happiness is tied to a who, not a what. It's tied to a who, not a what. And so basically, we have to be focused on the people and how what we do are impacting people. I mean, even now, even what I just said to this individual, online. Don't be distracting when we're trying to do something positive and peaceful. And I'm not going to be silent anymore when people jump on and do ignorant stuff on my feed. I'm going to let you know. You need to bounce. You need to leave. That is not welcome here. You are welcome, but that is not welcome, because that doesn't help us do anything. That's a distraction based on what we're trying to do. Focus on the big picture. And so people need to focus on the big picture. I'm not going to avoid being uncomfortable and being inconvenienced or calling people out, because isn't it funny? People don't have a problem calling out the people who are trying to do good, right? But then the good people also sometimes try to be quiet, and I'm not going to say anything back to them. Oh no, I'm going to let you know, and I'll let you know why what you're doing is wrong. I don't have a problem doing that. I will let you know why what you're doing is wrong and why this is not the place for that. I didn't say it's not a place at all. Doesn't have its place. Even in Ecclesiastes, it says there's a time for everything. But when you're operating in wisdom and love, you are mindful about what you're doing, when you're doing it, and how you're doing it, and how it impacts other people. So that's my time this morning. I want to thank you all for logging on. I want to thank you all for coming in. Thank you for, showing the love and letting me know when something touches you, when something impacts you. Here again, as I've said, if you want to stay in touch with me, email me, Thomas R. Easley at easleybranch.com. hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Snapchat, or go to my to my page, RashadEasley.com, or go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RASHAADI, and this will be uploaded on there shortly. I hope you all are great and blessed. Have a wonderful Sunday. If you're getting ready to head to church, I hope this word gave you something before you went to church. Or if nothing, hopefully it encouraged you. It let you feel like you are not alone and that you are not out here doing your work in vain. A lot of what I'm talking about, thank you, Dr. Philly. A lot of what I'm talking about, sometimes it can be very thankless. But guess what? In the end, I'm just looking forward to hearing, well done, thou good and faithful servant, because that's what I'm trying to be. Peace. Love y'all. See you next Sunday.